Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a really provocative idea. What if the AI boom isn't some brand new revolution? What if it's actually a rerun? A world-changing technology that's being built not on new ideas, but on a very old, very brutal playbook for building an empire.
So, how do you build a modern empire? Well, the argument we're looking at today suggests it doesn't start with some brilliant new invention. It starts with a very, very old trick.
Yep, a magic trick, to be exact. One that was perfected more than 100 years ago by the original robber barons. And the case being made is that we are watching that exact same trick being performed right now on a global stage, with AI as the shiny new object of distraction.
All right, to really get this, we've got to go back in time. I mean, way back. To understand the AI world of today, you first have to understand the oil fields of the late 1800s and the guy who wrote the original Monopoly playbook.
Meet John D. Rockefeller. He built an empire called Standard Oil and became the wealthiest person in modern history. Now, his strategy, which was famously exposed by the incredible journalist Ida Tarbell, wasn't some crazy, complex financial scheme. Nope, it was brutally simple. Just a two-part plan.
And this is where it gets really brilliant. First, you have the price war. You pick a competitor's town, you flood it with your oil, and you sell it for so cheap that they just bleed money until they go belly up. But second, and this was his real genius move, own the road. He cut these secret deals with the railroads. He got huge discounts for his oil, and then he forced the railroads to charge his competitors more to ship their own stuff. He controlled the infrastructure. He choked them out.
Okay, let's hit fast forward and come back to today. The product isn't oil anymore, obviously. It's artificial intelligence. But as you're about to see, the playbook, it is almost a carbon copy.
And this is where the parallels just become impossible to ignore. I mean, look at this. The old tactics map directly onto the new ones. Instead of just cutting prices in one town, you have algorithmic predation. Instead of secret railroad deals, you get preferential cloud pricing. And instead of just buying up your competitors, you acqui-hire them. You buy a whole startup just to get their best engineers. It is the exact same strategy, just rebooted for the digital age.
So what's so different about this new price war? It's that you can't see it. You know, our old laws were built to spot a company dropping its prices across an entire city. But today, a tech giant can use its AI to find a rival's most valuable customers and offer just them a secret, super low price to switch over. It's not a shotgun blast anymore. It's millions of tiny, invisible laser beams that our laws were just never designed to see.
And what about owning the road? Well, the railroads of the 21st century are these massive, power-sucking data centers that we call the cloud. Just like Rockefeller figured out, the ultimate power doesn't go to the person with the best oil or even the best AI model. It goes to the person who controls the infrastructure that everything else has to run on.
And that infrastructure is incredibly concentrated. Get this. Today, just 3 companies, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, they control a staggering 2/3 of the entire global cloud market. They are the new railroad barons. And almost every AI company out there, big or small, has to pay them rent just to use the rails.
And it's not just about controlling the infrastructure. The cost to even build a cutting-edge AI model has gone through the roof. Just look at this timeline. In 2017, you could train a landmark model for less than $1,000. By 2023, training something like GPT-4 or Gemini Ultra cost well over $100 million. That creates this huge financial moat that only the absolute wealthiest companies on Earth can afford to cross.
Now, any good magic trick needs one key ingredient, misdirection. And the argument here is that these companies tell a really powerful public story, a beautiful lie, you could say, to hide what's actually going on behind the curtain.
So the public story you get from executives like Microsoft's CEO Satya Nadella is this. It's a fun, vibrant market. It's all about the joy of innovation and good old-fashioned competition.
But when he was speaking to shareholders when the doors were closed, the message was very, very different. It wasn't about fun and games anymore. It was a blunt statement of total control. We have the people, the compute, the data. We have everything we need to win.
And you see the same kind of thing with OpenAI. Its founding mission was beautiful, right? A democratic promise to benefit all of humanity. I mean, their name is literally OpenAI. But according to journalists who actually got inside access, that idealistic mission slowly morphed into a culture that was secretive, insular, and driven by one singular obsession: be first, no matter what it takes. But you know,
The most powerful piece of evidence in this whole argument, it doesn't come from a journalist or some critic. It comes directly from the man at the absolute center of the AI boom.
The sources we looked at call this the smoking gun. And it's not an accusation, it's a direct admission of what the ultimate goal was all along, stated long before he became a global celebrity.
And there it is. In a lecture to a room full of startup founders, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman was brutally honest. The goal isn't just to compete. The goal is to find a market, get a monopoly, and then expand. It's a confession, right there in his own words, that the playbook has always been about total dominance.
So, with the playbook laid bare like this, is the game over? Well, not necessarily. The story isn't finished. Regulators are starting to wake up, and there are some really powerful counterforces pushing back. The top antitrust cops in the United States, Lena Khan over at the FTC and Jonathan Cantor at the DOJ, have both made it very clear they are concerned. They're now actively investigating the whole AI stack, from the chips to the cloud to the models themselves, looking for what they call monopoly choke points.
This all sets up the big debate happening right now. On one side, you have people who say, look, this is just a natural monopoly. The costs are so high that only a few big players can compete, so we should just regulate them like we do power companies. But on the other hand, you've got this incredible open source insurgency, models like Llama and communities like Hugging Face that are trying to break that hold and create a truly competitive ecosystem.
But, and this is a really crucial catch, even those open source rebels often have to rent their computing power, their railroads, from the exact same cloud giants they're trying to compete with, which of course keeps the ultimate power right back in the hands of the new barons.
And that brings us to our final question. We are watching a magic trick that is over a century old. We can see the playbook, we know all the steps, and we know how this story ended the first time around. So the question is, now that we can see the trick being performed right in front of us, do we actually have the power to change the ending?